I'm gonna try to paint you a picture. It's Friday night in the year 2000. You're 11 years old, and your favorite anime of all time right now is Dragon Ball Z. But of course, it's the heavily edited TV version. You don't really know any better. You go to Blockbuster Video in order to rent some movies for the weekend. There's no such thing as streaming services right now, so you actually had to go to the store and make a commitment on what you wanted to watch. Then you realize that Blockbuster has an anime section in the back of the store. What? No way! Hey, even if it's only a 4-foot little section, there's still a designated area of the store for this niche thing that you and maybe 2 of your friends enjoy. It's an amazing discovery, and wow, like what could be there? So you look at the covers of all the VHS tapes, most of which have a parental advisory sticker on them. That's weird. Well, then you come across this movie called Ninja Scroll. Looks awesome. There's a guy with a sword fighting some monsters. This is perfect. So you go get your dad to rent this for you. You go home that night, and in your room you pop in the VHS, hearing that perfect nostalgic noise of the tape player. The movie begins, and it is the most violent, disgusting, sexual, and disturbing animated product that you have ever seen. You feel like at any moment you're going to be in big trouble for watching it, and every second in the film that passes gives you a steady anxiety as to what kind of barbaric or pornographic imagery that you are about to see next. The images are burned into your brain, and you have an awakening into this hidden adult world of mature anime that you had no idea even existed. So much so that even 21 years later, you remember this experience as a vivid, life-changing moment that set you on a path of darkness from which you are still unable to escape. So anyway, the other night I pulled out my old DVD of Ninja Scroll and decided to watch it. And I remembered every scene so vividly, even though I haven't watched this in years. And then I knew that I needed to talk about it. Yes, to put it simply, I grew up in an era where there was no Crunchyroll, no Funimation, and no instant anime access of any kind. Anime was one of those things that was like an exciting hidden world that people were either unaware of, didn't care about, or actively tried to distance themselves from. The idea that there was adult entertainment, and no, I'm not talking about hentai, but adult entertainment, mature, dark stories for adults done through animation, wasn't something that people understood in the 90s and early 2000s, at least here in America. Animation was looked down on for being a kid's thing, and then anime in particular was seen as this weird and geeky, mostly being related to Pokemon or something like that nobody wanted to associate themselves with. I also love Pokemon, by the way. But if you were lucky enough to find a movie like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Wicked City, or Ninja Scroll, it was like getting access to a special club that was all your own. Even the internet at the time was in its infancy, and there wasn't really communities quite like there are now to all come together and talk about it. It was more like you would find something and then you would need to tell all your friends about them and harass them to the point where they eventually would watch it, in which you had to in secret because obviously if your parents saw you watching something so depraved, you would be in big trouble. So what is Ninja Scroll? Well, similar to Berserk, we have a dark fantasy tale of a swordsman fighting demonic entities. And releasing in Japan in 1993 and here in the States in 1995, it came out in an era where anime itself was dark, atmospheric, and nightmare-inducing. That gritty, hand-drawn style, and literally dark. It wasn't the bright, light-shining animation cells that we have today. The characters didn't all have gigantic eyes and bright, shining hair. These characters were all drawn in a very detailed, human yet deformed kind of way, in that this aesthetic is one that I truly miss about this time period of anime. One day I pray that it does make a comeback. And that's one of the highest praises that I can give it. I absolutely love the look and the tone of this movie. I love how dark it is and how unforgiving the world in which it takes place in happens to show us. The battles feel real, deadly, and the people will get their fucking arms ripped off from their shoulders. The thing that stood out most to me is the imagery. Again, similar to Berserk, there are haunting and disturbing moments that will certainly stick with you. I suppose more so if you watch this at 10 years old, but that's besides the point. I feel like the animation, which is smooth and perfect in my opinion, gives a weight and ferocity to the characters and to the fights that you just feel like they hurt more, and it makes you cringe, yet at the same time makes you not want to turn away from any of the constant gore and body horror that's happening on the screen. So Ninja Scroll is not actually based on any manga or anime beforehand, and is a unique creation. It was written and directed by this guy Yoshiaki Kawajiri, who is a goddamn legend. This guy directed so many of these brutal atmospheric anime films of the time, including Wicked City, which is another one of my top favorites, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and even some segments in The Animatrix. This guy is a master of the craft and knows how to make a dark anime film. But what's the story? Well, it seems more convoluted than it actually is. When you watch it, it's pretty straightforward. But there's this wandering swordsman named Jubei, who is our resident good-natured badass with a dark past. He is poisoned by this little old fucker who basically forces him to help him in exchange for the antidote to the poison. He wants to take down these 8 devil ninjas from attempting to steal a bunch of gold in order to overthrow the government. Meanwhile, we have Kagero, the sole survivor of a ninja clan, who gets tangled up in this mess alongside them, as well as one of the strangest and most convenient physical conditions that I've seen in any story. Anyway, Jubei also finds out that the man who betrayed him, and whom in fact Jubei hunted down and killed in revenge, has somehow come back from the dead and is the leader of these devil ninjas. The plot is very simple from there. The trio travel Japan, get constantly mixed up with the devils, and have to fight them, making their way to their leader, Gemma. There's a bit more to it than that, but I don't really want to get into any spoilers for this video if I can avoid it. Obviously, the movie takes place in feudal Japan, and for the most part is grounded in the time period. The supernatural forces come from our antagonists, whom are never really explained as to why they have these particular powers and abilities, but it's meant to be more in that mysticism vein, like the idea that these ninjas that lurk within the shadows with these strange weapons and abilities, and that you can never expect what they'll be able to fight with or how they conduct their business and assassinations. It's supposed to add to the fear and intimidation that you would have against the unexpected, that and at any moment you can be attacked by a savage monster or a subtle manipulator. But look, this is primarily an action movie through and through. I wouldn't go into this expecting a lot of deep narrative themes that will make you question your entire life existence. I think it's more so a look into the time period of Japan and the raw, unforgiving nature of how the world looked back then, with the incorporation of the devil mythology also coming from a lot of Japanese lore. And look, after decades of being released and the absolute plethora of anime that exists today, I don't know if Ninja Scroll could possibly have the same impact on someone now as it did when it was released or when anime was less popular, particularly this violent, dark, edgy style. Perhaps what made Ninja Scroll so iconic was the very fact at the time period there wasn't really anything else like this, and it wasn't something that you would find every day. Considering this is just a film and not an ongoing series, though there have been some sequel attempts, it's probably not going to grab you in the same way. Also, like I said, this movie is extremely violent, there is a ton of gore, and sexual situations too, including the beginning of a rape, which is interrupted and doesn't go all the way, but it's still in there. I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe the time of Ninja Scroll being this big, impactful, masterful anime film may have passed. Other anime sens have done better stories and used the dark fantasy style and gore more suitably for their narratives. And I think, if anything though, Ninja Scroll is a look into the history of the genre, a time period of its release, and the time period of Japan that it takes place in. It's like a time capsule in that way. And while rewatching it, that's what I felt. I was taken away into the world of Ninja Scroll, and for that 90 minutes, I had the same heart-racing feeling as I did 20 years ago. I absolutely love this movie, and I have to credit it to opening my eyes into the dark adult anime world, and I know that I'm not alone in saying that. And I think for new anime fans, it's a film that is 100% still worth watching. Sure, just for the action and violence alone, but also to get a feel for that brutal dark style that holds a special place in the history of anime. The hardcore bloody films from the 80s and 90s that blew our minds both then and now. So do yourself a favor and find and watch Ninja Scroll. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video. Also comment down below what you thought about Ninja Scroll, if you saw it, when you saw it, where were you when you saw it, how young were you, all that kind of stuff down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notifications, because some people are starting to not see my videos in their subscription feed, which is a shitty, dumb YouTube algorithm thing. So to make sure that you see every video, just hit the bell notification. That way you won't miss it. Also, check the links in the video description for my merch store, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and Patreon link if you want to support the channel on that extra level. I would really appreciate it. Other than that, guys, thank you a lot for watching this. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.